Hey everybody, I always like to start out the pregame with a bit of a joke, so here you go. Good morning everybody, how's it going? So welcome back to NYY Recaps. Yesterday was a long day in this chair. 2 games, 2 7-inning games at least, so it wasn't too bad. The Yankees split the doubleheader against the Phillies. First game was kind of rough. J-Hap was on the mound. He has really struggled this year. I thought going into the game that he was going to be better because, I figured with the long layoff that his first outing was mostly rust and that he would have sharpened up now that he's on a regular routine. But then he walked 6 guys and took an L. So J-Hap is somebody we've got to keep an eye on. I'm not sure he's going to stay in the rotation if he continues to struggle. Look, the Yankees have a lot of options. Mike King has looked good. Clark Schmidt is apparently right on the verge of being a contributor at the MLB level. And we saw yesterday that Johnny Lasagna is terrific as an opener. So he's got deadly stuff. So there's only so many times that you can keep running guys out there in a shortened season. Because every game has a lot more leverage. So if the Yankees had a decent start yesterday, they probably would have won because they scored 7 runs. In the nightcap, Game 2, the Yankees won 3-1. In case you missed the mistake-riddled post-game show, I had like 2 DHs and there was like a random clip of me like working on a computer. Look, it was really, really tough to do two game day shows in one day. I'm glad they're 7-inning games and still get them out at a reasonable time. So I kind of had to just skim over the review. I kind of watch the reviews as I'm making them, but sometimes I miss little tiny like smidgen of a second things. I'll try and clean that up today. But Luke Voit was tremendous. He's heating up. I'll talk more about him. Mike Tauchman had the base hit to give the Yankees the win. I thought Jonathan Loaizaga looked tremendous once again. He's so great in that opener role. And his stuff is some of the best stuff on the team. 97, 98 mile an hour fastball, big hook. He's looked good all season. So we'll get into all of that. First, a quick announcement. We've got our first Yankee appearance on the podcast, on the channel, ex-Yankee, Johnny Damon. I had him record a little bit of a discussion about a game in 2008 in which he was 6 for 6. So you'll see that in the next episode of the podcast. I'll be interviewing my buddy Kyle Gavitt. Who he was the best man at my wedding. He was my college roommate for a couple of years. Legitimately the funniest guy I've ever known in my entire life. And in 2008, when we were both 25, I think he was 24, we drove up to New York City to see Yankee Stadium one last time before it was torn down. And that was the day that Johnny Damon went 6 for 6, won the game with a walk-off. It was about 105 degrees, and the hijinks that we got into on that trip, it's just a story that everyone has to hear, that I love talking about, that I love telling, that Kyle loves telling. So we're recording that tomorrow, but I did want to share just a quick, brief look at what Johnny Damon sent us.
Hello to the New York Yankee Recaps audience. I'm Johnny Damon. The guy who had the double steal in 2009 World Series, and A-Rod drove me in to give us a lead, and we ended up winning this World Series. I want to talk about my 6 for 6 game and that walk-off. That game was so amazing to me because it was against my first team, the Kansas City Royals, and we always...
So you can catch that episode on probably Saturday or Sunday. I'll try and release it as soon as I get done editing it. But with me and Kyle talking throughout the episode, I'm sure it's going to take a lot of editing, a lot of bleeping. But looking forward to that. So let's talk about Luke Voit, who is red hot, swinging the bat, much better. He came into this season with a bit of a question mark surrounding him because, he was really good through July last year, right? And then he had the hernia, and he missed a bunch of time. He comes back saying he's fully healed. But he really struggled down the stretch, ultimately wasn't even involved in the postseason at all. And then he has off-season surgery. And there's no guarantee anytime you have surgery that you're going to come back and be the same player that you were. So the thought was, hopefully he would be the Luke Voit that we remember from April through July. But there was a chance that he could have been that Luke Voit from the end of the season. If you lose flexibility in your abdomen, things like that, it can slow down your swing. Well, that has not happened. Luke Voit looks tremendous. He came into camp in great shape. He lost some weight. He says that his goal is to steal a base this year. But I'd be happy with him, continuing to hit humongous home runs. So it's time for the daily Gary Sanchez discussion. Gary Sanchez is now hitting .074. He's got a minus .4 wins above replacement. No home runs, 1 RBI. He's 2 for 27 with 16 strikeouts. And I'm starting to get the sense that New York fans are turning on him. Just from what I read on social media, the things I see on Twitter, on Facebook, the comments section, I'm seeing the word bum a lot. Gary Sanchez, he has a lot of goodwill because when he came up, he electrified New York, hit those 20 home runs as a rookie, did really well the next year with 30-plus home runs. Then in 2018, he bats 186, 18 home runs. He's injured a lot. Makes the All-Star team last year, but he only bats .232 with 34 home runs and 77 RBIs, did have an .841 OPS, so that was solid. Led all catchers in home runs, but, he was terrible in the postseason, and he's just been absolutely atrocious this year. 16 strikeouts and 27 at-bats is that's abnormally bad for him. Now, it may just be a slump. It probably is. But the fact that he keeps going on these extended slumps, it's not a good sign. His consistency really needs to improve. And last night, he also got hit on the elbow with a pitch in the 7th inning. I keep wanting to say the 9th inning, but I'm forgetting we have these coronavirus rules. But in the 7th inning, he was hit on the elbow. And you just know that that's going to be sore. It's going to be swollen for a couple of days. I'm sure he'll have treatment, but it's going to affect his swing. Look at Gleyber Torres. He had a similar hit by pitch a few days ago, and he has been struggling. So I feel like this is not good timing for Gary Sanchez to get hit like this. They do have Chris Iannetta, who's available. He's been optioned to the alternate site, or AAA. But, they have Kyle Higashioka. He started game 1 yesterday. He had a couple of hits, but he also made a bonehead play on the base paths. He got doubled off of first in a situation where you should not get doubled off of first. And I know, because I was a terrible base runner. And then also, he dropped a play at home plate, a routine ball that he should have caught. He just dropped it, and that allowed 2 runs to score, kind of broke the game open. The Yankees ended up losing by 4, but if he doesn't drop that ball, the Yankees might win that game. So a few roster moves to tell you about. The rosters are shrinking down to 28 players, max. The Yankees had 30 guys on the roster. They have sent down 3 guys, so that, by my count, takes them down to 27, so they should be bringing somebody up. But they sent down Nick Nelson, who threw a lot of pitches yesterday. I thought he was okay, but, he got kind of snake bit. He had some soft contact, and there were a few drop balls behind him, like the one by Higashioka. Thairo Estrada was sent down. I think Estrada's a great hitter. I think he's got some trade value. I don't know if the Yankees would trade him, but I'm sure a lot of teams would be interested because he's a good contact hitter. He's got speed. He can play all over the field. He's basically like a right-handed Tyler Wade. And then Miguel Andujar got sent down. That's a shame, but I kind of saw this one coming. Andujar is a guy who needs more at-bats. And I don't want to be an alarmist about Andujar, but I'm going to tell you a quick story about Greg Bird and compare it to Miguel Andujar. Miguel Andujar was great this spring. It looked like his swing was back. He had power, but he just hasn't hit since the season started. Let's talk about Greg Bird. He had a very similar labrum surgery several years back. He comes to camp the next year after missing an entire season, and he hits like 8 or 9 home runs in camp. And then once the season starts, he was unable to duplicate that performance, and he really struggled, and he's never been the same since. He actually just had his contract purchased by the Texas Rangers and got called up, but before he could even get into a game, he pulled his calf muscle, and so he's back on the IL. But that doesn't have anything to do with his labrum, I was just saying. But when you have a surgery that's that extensive to your labrum, it can really affect you. So it's possible that maybe his swing velocity, his strength just isn't back to 100%. I mean, maybe I'm just being alarmist, but I've got to see Miguel Andujar do it at the big league level before I say that he's back. So I think it's a good thing that they're sending him down to AAA. I think it's a good chance for him to get some more at-bats. I'm hoping that the guy they bring up will be Clint Frazier, but it might be a pitcher. It might be Clark Schmidt. We'll see how that works out. I hope it's Clark Schmidt, actually. Clark Schmidt getting a start instead of Jay Happ would be hugely beneficial, or instead of James Paxton. I want to see the kid. Let the kids play. But if they do bring up Clint Frazier, he's been swinging the bat very, very well at the alternate site. So, we'll see what happens. And last but not least, Jordan Montgomery is actually on the mound today. So yesterday when I read MLB.com, it showed that Jordan Montgomery was going to start Game 2 last night. So in my pregame to the doubleheader, pre-games, I listed Jordan Montgomery as the starter, but he is actually starting today. So if you have him in DraftKings or whatever it is you use, get him. I really feel good about Jordan Montgomery, the way he's throwing the ball. I could see him being one of those guys who's like 9-1 this year with like a 2.5 ERA. That's the type of pitcher he is now. 95 miles an hour with that hook. He's deadly, and he's got such great command. He already, before he even was throwing as hard as he is now, was getting a ton of swings and misses. I really feel like Jordan Montgomery is going to take this league by surprise this year and be a Cy Young contender. He really will be. I think Garrett Cole's going to win it, but I think that Jordan Montgomery is going to be that number 2 that the Yankees need, and that's a good thing because he's a lefty. He's a very different pitcher from Garrett Cole. And so having those guys back-to-back, if you go to the postseason, also with a Tanaka mixed in there, and Tanaka has looked good, even though he didn't go very long. Hey, look, the Yankees' rotation is going to be okay. But yeah, Jordan Montgomery today, he's my pick to click. I could be wrong. We'll find out in a few hours. Join me on the postgame.
Drill deep to left field. There it goes. See ya. Home run for Judge.